webinar in our series. So we do this every single Wednesday at 2 p.m. and we've been doing it for the last 7 weeks. Now, I just want to preface this presentation. We are going over websites and how they play in your marketing plan, and how websites correlate to conversions. I will preface this by saying I'm not a website designer, I'm not a developer, but I do perform user testing for clients and try to find problems with in their website and try to find them solutions and answers to their questions. So basically the purpose of this presentation is to empower and educate local business owners to help them understand why their website is so important and what they can do to improve their website. So that being said, I want to go ahead. Oops, there we go. Alrighty, so like I said, we're going to go over marketing with website UI and UX. UI meaning user interface and UX meaning user experience. Why your website's user interface and experience matters when it comes to conversions. So we're going to go over what is UI, user interface, what is UX, user experience, and what is their relation to conversions, and why it's important. It's going to be relatively self-explanatory while we go through multiple topics. There's kind of a lot of content to go through, so I'll be careful not to steal too much of your time. It'll take about 30 to 45 minutes to do it. So first, we're going to go over website user interface, otherwise abbreviated as UI. This comes down to the attractiveness of your website. Is your website attractive? Does it have good typography, meaning fonts and sizes, things like that? Is it cluttered or is it too fancy? We want to make sure that our websites look good, but we want to make sure that's not overly fancy, interface, difficult to use, stuff like that. We want to make sure that there's a visual hierarchy, an hierarchy that's easy to understand for the user, and we also want to make sure that the familiar layout. We don't want to use anything that's new or emerging. We don't want to force our users to learn something new. We basically just want to use what's already trending in our industry, what other people are doing, and kind of follow suit with that, so we don't confuse our end users. The three main points to that, I like to abbreviate it as PSC, and that stands for prioritize your content. Make sure you organize it, most important to least important. Make sure that everything is sized correctly. That means pictures are sized correctly, fonts, titles, headings, paragraphs, product images, all that sort of thing, and then also color scheme. So if the theme of your website, on your home page, landing page, wherever your user is making initial contact with your website, if the theme is red and black, make sure that when I go to the next page that it doesn't all of a sudden turn to white and blue. We want to keep that theme consistent throughout the entire website. Next is website user experience, otherwise abbreviated as UX. This is all about functionality. We want to make sure that it's smooth, easy, and streamlined. Ease of use is our #1 goal. We don't want to make it so hard that our user shows up to our website and they immediately leave. We want to make sure it's very simple. We want to predict user goals and ability. So we want to assume that we're getting users from all different types of backgrounds, specifically if you're a business to customer sort of company. We're talking about people from all different types of backgrounds, and we want to make sure that our website can be used by all of those end users. So if for example, your website sells skincare products, we can safely assume that our end user is looking for skincare products and they found our website through through Google, they decided that the description was good enough to click on it, and their goal is to solve their skincare needs. So we want to predict that and help them sift through our website to find the product that best suits them. So ultimately, as well, our user goals should also match our business goals. So if we're trying to sell 500 different skincare products, and we know that we have users who want to purchase those skincare products, then we can guide them through that process. They should be parallel to one another. And the experience and that entire experience should lead to action. So we're helping them through an excellent experience through the website that should ultimately guide them to a purchase or to some sort of conversion, however way we are measuring those conversions. And there's different ways that businesses do, depending on the goal of that business. So the three main points of user experience is SEC, and simple, easy, clean. So I want to show you guys some sample website screenshots, and I'm not going to leave any comment to any of them. I want you to look at them and conjure your own opinion about what you think they look like and compare them to one another. And then we're going to be going through some topics and revisiting some of these screenshots and understanding what makes one good and what makes one not so good, right? So we got this first one. They make custom ornamental driveway gates. We have this template, which can be used for an event company. We have this one right here. They sell X-ray equipment. We have this template right here that could be used for a B2B company, business to business, business solutions, marketing, financing, stuff like that. This one right here is a little more difficult to conjure up. We can see that this is all about booking condos, probably in the travel industry. This one right here is another template that could probably also be used for a B2B company. So now we're going to go over website and conversions before we start analyzing all of those screenshots and diving into those topics. So basically, businesses have different goals. Perhaps a business-to-business company their goal is just to collect leads. And that could be in the way of forms. So they're gathering information. That's how they are calculating their conversions. So their goal is to streamline visitors, prospects to their website, and then collect that information so then they can follow up with these leads. Versus a business to customer company, they might be using transactions and purchases as a way to measure their conversion rates because they're all about selling consumer goods. And then maybe an artist, a musical artist, maybe a comedian might be measuring conversions on social media shares. So the goal of their website is to have visitors show up, look at their content, and then share their content on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. So ultimately, your website should be a sales funnel. That's its primary purpose. So the user goes through a search engine, let's say it's Google, they look up skincare products, your website ranks, it has a description on it, and then it basically, they become interested, so they click on it, and then they decide to search around all around your website. You've captured their interest and they're spending time on your website. But all of that information, all of that content should ultimately be geared to the action that you want them to take, which is either filling out a form, taking a survey, or making a purchase item on your e-commerce. So again, the goal, very important, convert visitors into customers. So a couple tips that I want to give you at a glance is you do want to improve load speeds, meaning you want your website to be fast. No one likes a slow website. You also want to make sure that your content is fresh. You want to make sure that it's readable. Don't write fancy scholarly articles. It's not necessary. Make it so then anybody and everybody can read it. Use keywords so then your website can be found. Use clear CTAs, meaning call to action buttons that lead to a landing page. So I don't want to click a button and be forwarded to another another page that has content. If I've already decided to take action, I want to go to a landing page and start making decisions with you. Tell your brand story. You know what I mean? Your website is your virtual storefront. You want to show off what you want your potential customers to see. And external links. So if you have links inside of your website that go to different websites, make sure that that link pops up in another window. And the reason being is because once I click that link and I go to that new window, I can look at the content there, but I might decide I want to go back to your website. So I can easily do that with multiple tabs versus if it just changes on the same tab, it's less likely that I'm actually going to end up back on your website and I'm just going to keep on going down the wormhole or just start a whole new search from Google. Now, some don'ts: don't use carousels. Carousels are basically website slideshows. Don't use all caps. Don't use too many pop-ups. Don't leave 404 errors unfixed. Don't use ambiguous form errors. Make them specific. Don't use blue text. It could be difficult for those who are colorblind to read it. And don't use italic font because it could be difficult for those with dyslexia to read it. And don't use too many stock photos. The reason being is you want to make sure it's as authentic as possible. So if that means that you have to hire a photographer to come to your store, to your restaurant, to take pictures, I would definitely suggest that you do. The reason being is that it should be as personal as possible. Looking at some websites, you know, some of us can instantly tell that the website is in a way canned. It's not personal. It's not authentic. And I want to be able to build a relationship with you through that website. So I want to see pictures of you or your products. I don't want to see pictures that you bought that are totally detached. So we're going to dive into these topics a little bit more as we go on. So if you don't understand any of these, it's okay. I got a couple pictures for you guys. So when it comes to the organization of your website, we mentioned earlier that we should have a clear hierarchy and we should prioritize content. So let's go ahead and look at the top here at page 1. And let's say this is our home page, and these in the second row right here is your navigation. So we have maybe pricing and plans. Over here we have services, and let's just say this one is about, you know, there's only 3 options on the navigation bar. And then from these 3 pages, I can go on to these ones. So you want to make sure it's organized. It should definitely be a top to bottom. It shouldn't be linear. It shouldn't go from here to there to there. It's a little too confusing because then I have to hit backwards to there. Instead, when I'm here, I can easily just click home, or I can click back to prices and plans, etc., etc. So as we're looking at this picture right here that we've seen earlier, we see right here that the navigation is on the left-hand side, which typically is not typical practice, and it's a little confusing to look at. We do have some categories here, and then we have some subcategories or other options to click. The better alternative would be to just do what everybody else does, honestly, and put home there, driveway here, garden gates there, fencing, railings, and then owners and operators, and maybe another one that says contact or about, something like that. And then we have a long list underneath open and operators, and honestly, that might be too much. might be too many options. It becomes overwhelming. It's not easy to use. We go over to this one. This one doesn't even have a navigation bar. It doesn't seem to have any real organization except for this little 2x2 format right here in the middle. But it seems like it's also a linear progression, which means I go from this page to this page. Then I have to go backwards, come back and visit this one. So I'm going back and forth. And then I have a confusing navigation bar at the very bottom of the screen that doesn't really make too much sense. You know, instead of saying how to purchase, it should just say contact us now, or e-commerce or store, you know what I mean? So it should be a little more organized. Now, when we come to this one has a very clear organization style. We can tell that we're on the home page because the coloring is different. And then we can go ahead and navigate to these other ones. And so this is basically common practice. Everybody is using this format. Everybody knows how to use this format. And it's just easier to use. So some more user experience tips that I have for you guys. So for that navigation, so basically we want to make sure that that navigation goes away. So I've noticed some websites, when you start scrolling down the website, that navigation bar will stick there. The problem is sometimes we're trying to view that content where that navigation bar is sticking. So we want to make sure that that goes away. We want to make sure that the navigation bar is consistent. So if the navigation bar looks one way on the home page and I decide to go to the about page or the store, the navigation bar should stay the same at the very top. Just so that I don't have to learn something on the next page. And then for the buttons, we should have only 1 to 2 words on those buttons. We don't need to have long sentences on those buttons. Make it short and sweet. Let me know what's on that page, and then I click on it. And then it should only be 3 to 4 levels deep on that hierarchy. So if it's more than that, it's becoming too complicated, and some of your users are going to be lost. And other tips are having clear CTAs, that's call to action buttons. Make sure that your form errors are specific. Make objects clickable. So if there's a picture of a skincare product in the right-hand column, I want to be able to click on that, and then maybe that's going to shoot me over to your e-commerce store, because I've already showed interest in that product. So you might as well put me over there in the store. And then create searches. If your website is huge, make sure that you have a search bar at the top, so I can just put in some keywords and instantly find what I think is already on your website. And then use hints. I'm going to show you some pictures on that as well, or one picture in particular. And then accordions. I want to show you a picture of that as well. So make sure you use those things and correct those things. So over here, if we're going to go through our checklist, again, we notice that there is no clear navigation bar. The menu at the very bottom sometimes has more than 2 words. One option even has 4 words on it, and they're just not clear whatsoever. Like I said, how to purchase should just say contact us now, or just contact us. Why we're the best should just be, you know, about us. You know, what's new around here? I think that's unnecessary. I think it could definitely be organized in a different way, perhaps directed to a different page that then has another call to action button. So there's definitely a lot of different organizational issues with this specific format. Versus this one right here, like I said, we have clear navigation. If I'm already impressed with you, I can immediately call you. It's clear that that's your phone number. It's clear that that's your email. I can access your social media accounts right there within 1 click. And then the call to action button is very clear. It's only 2 words. You know, I'm already impressed. You know what? Yeah, I want to give you guys a chance. I've already read your reviews on Google. I just happen to click on your website because I want to contact you guys. So let's go ahead and get started. Here's some examples of some functions that you can apply to some buttons on your website, and you've probably noticed them before. We have what the normal button looks like, and then how it looks like when I put my cursor over it. Now this is just a picture, so my cursor is not going to change into a little hand, but we can see that the shade becomes different. So that improves. It's a little helpful tool to improve user experience. Now, this is an example of a carousel banner. Again, like I said, I wouldn't suggest using these anymore. So for example, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different slides on it. And let's say they're triggered to switch every 1 second or every 2 seconds. You know, I might not have 5, 10 seconds to sit there and watch this slideshow finish out. So if you really want to use a carousel, make sure that you have a navigation option right here so that I can actually click that and just keep skipping over, or put more content so I can just scroll through your feed or through your website page. Here's an example of a hint. So if you believe that your website is too difficult to use, or you just want to help push your prospects or your visitors through this sales funnel per se, you can put little hints on it. So for example, on this one, it says, "Welcome to Turbo Search. Let me guide you through its features." And then I can either opt in to keep following through with these hints, or I can just skip it because I feel confident in being able to navigate your website by myself. So that's a good tip. Now right here is an example of the way a form should be if there's an error. So no one likes frustrating forms. If it takes too many times to try to fill out a form, I'm probably going to leave your website. So I click send. There's errors on the form. There's a banner on the top that says that there's items that need my attention, but not only does it say that, but it tells me exactly which fields need my attention. So I need to fix my name, my email, and check the box. Sometimes I've seen forms that do not have that ability. So basically you click send on the form, and then all you do is just get this top error right here. And I don't know which field is having the problem. So this will help your user go through the desired transaction. This is an example of an accordion. So let's say that you have to put way too much content on one particular web page, and it's completely justified. So what you can use is you can use an accordion, and basically I click this option, I get to read this. I click it, it collapses. I come down here, it expands. I read that content and I continue through. You can also set it up so then once I click this option down here, cross-browser support, it'll automatically collapse this item. Now, why is this important? Because you want to keep people on your page. You want to make sure that it's fast to navigate. So if these things can collapse, it takes less time for me to scroll up to the top of your web page and access your navigation bar. Now, another solution to this is some websites I've seen is what you can do is you can enable your website so that when you decide to scroll up after you've read all the content, so you scroll up and then all of a sudden it triggers the navigation bar to appear at the top. And so that's really helpful too, because I don't have to scroll all the way to the top and then go click on a different page. I scroll up a little bit, it appears, I collect my next navigation item, and then I'm still spending time on your website. So the more time a user spends on your website, the higher chance they're probably going to convert. Here's an example of 404 error. Again, if you have these on your website, you don't want dead ends on your website. Basically, it's going to deter conversions. So what you should do is determine whether or not that page is still necessary for your website. And if it's not necessary, make sure you get rid of that page. If it is necessary, then go ahead and correct that issue. So then once a user gets that page, they don't land on a dead end, right? Now, this is our last item, is basically all caps versus small caps. Up here is small caps. It's easy to read. I have no problems looking at it. Right here is all caps. It's a little more difficult to read, and I also feel like I'm being yelled at, right? No one likes to feel like they're being yelled at when they're going through content on a page. So you shouldn't use all caps unless absolutely necessary. If you must use all caps, another alternative is you could use a font like this, which basically just capitalizes the beginning of your sentence and then all nouns that you decide to capitalize, but then it kind of makes all the other letters smaller. So it makes it a little bit easier to read. And then also, if we look at this one, things are a little bit larger. And then on this font right here, the apostrophe is a little too far up. It looks clunky. It doesn't look good. It's probably going to interfere with other content up here if they're back to back and not spaced or properly padded. Here is one last thing that I wanted to show you guys for if anybody has an e-commerce or is looking to build one, to get one, to purchase one. There are some functionality issues that will impact users and will make them abandon their transaction while they're checking out. So I wanted to show you guys a couple of important ones. And one of them is, the site wanted me to create an account. If it's not absolutely necessary, I've gone to websites where all they require is my name, my email address, and my mailing address. I put in my my credit card info, my billing info, and then I receive it at the post office, and I don't have to create an account or do anything fancy. And that will result in 37% abandonment rate. Another thing is too long or complicated checkout process. So perhaps after I select an item that I want to purchase, give the end user an opportunity to either check out immediately or continue shopping, just so that it's more fluid. I mean, the faster the process, the more likely you're going to be able to convert that sale. Another one is users who couldn't calculate total order cost up front. That's at 23% abandonment rate. So basically what you want to do there is you want to include all shipping, tax, and fees with that total amount, just to make it easier so the customer knows exactly what they're paying for once they decide to check out. Another one is website had errors and crashed. This is a big problem with e-commerce sites. You want to make sure that it's constantly updated and refurbished and fixed on a regular basis. Because what's going to happen when I go to your website and I try to make a purchase on your skincare product and I can't because there's an error with your website, I'm going to go back to Google, I'm going to go find another e-commerce site, and I'm going to purchase from somebody else. And then last but not least, I think one of the most important ones is I didn't trust the site with my credit card information, which resulted in a 19% abandonment rate. So basically, if the site looks out of date, if it looks old, if it's clunky, if it's not easy to use, if it looks too canned, again, with all those stock images, I'm probably not going to trust your website, and I'm not going to give you my information in order to make that purchase. So it's definitely wise to spend some money and to invest some time into your website because it will improve conversion rate. So that concludes today's presentation. Here at Reedermedia, we do help people with problems with the websites all the time. We help them find solutions that will help them increase conversion rates. So if you have any questions, you can definitely come out and visit us, or you can call us. But right now, the meeting is yours. If you have any questions, please unmute yourself or type it into the chat section, and we'd be more than happy to answer.